What's going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Snapchat. Rain or shine, sick or healthy, we're going to be coming at you, and I am definitely on the latter. I am sick as a dog today, but I had to really pull myself together. Alex here joining me late for our Snapchat. And buddy, we actually have a pretty good episode. That's partially why I wanted to push myself to be able to get this out there. We got some fun stuff to talk about. Obviously, snap packs being announced. We've got Infinity Ultron. Good God, what a wild ride that's about to be. But then we're going to have some good conversations about the OTA and how I think they need to change and how we think the balance patches in general need some love. And then last but not least, we're going to be looking at all the card games in the world right now, from Hearthstone to One Piece of Magic to Snap, and kind of look at the state of them, how they're doing. Thought it'd be a fun conversation. Alex, how you doing, though, on this beautiful Monday?
Buddy, I'm doing great. First of all, I'm sorry that you're sick again. It's like you are a magnet to every virus on Earth. You must have the best immune system, man. You're fighting everything off.
It's been a while. I feel I knew I haven't been sick in like 6 months. I came off casting though the other day, so I was pretty dead from that. But I haven't been sick. I've been okay, healthy. When you have kids though, man, I'm telling you, I think that's the biggest separation that people who don't have kids don't realize. You get sick so much when you have kids.
Oh, buddy. First of all, I'm a teacher and I see literally thousands of kids a day because of the way they walk through the building. And then I have kids in different buildings because my kids, 2 of them go to daycare, 2 of them go to elementary school. One's in a JK class where they literally wipe each other's noses with each other. And then so it is an absolute cesspool. JK and under is absolutely crazy. And my kids come back and we're so diligent with stuff too. If our kids are sick, we keep them home. We make sure that
right.
Nonna comes over, takes care of them. We don't spread it. And then I go to pick up my kids and there's kids with snot running all the way down their face. I'm like, this kid is clearly sick and feverish. Why is he getting my kid sick? And then sure enough, 2 days later, my little guy is
oh, dude, and then you just know, and then it just snowballs, man. Yeah, my kid woke up sick the other day, and I knew I was, tending to him being a loving father, but as I was holding him, I was like, I'm going down. I just knew, I knew it, and here we are. And I knew it was going to come right before the Snapchat. I'm like, life can't be too easy. Listen, man, we got a lot to break down today's episode. What are we talking about on your side of the Snapchat?
Cozy, on my side of the Snapchat, we're going to have a quick conversation about Kohori in review, whether or not it's worth picking up. We're also going to be discussing the Snap Packs. We got a full reaction with regards to the pricing, and we get a little bit of an idea of how it's going to be like to use Snap Packs in the general economy. And then finally, as always, our Snapchat mailbag.
Well, man, let's get right to it. We got Infinity Ultron, and you see down below, Trash or Treasure is the name of the subject here. And you know what? I think we both, whenever we did the initial review on this card, we talked about it being certainly fun, but probably not great. And I think we're both still landing around there now. Before we get into the nitty gritty, is he trash? Is he treasure? What do you got him at for the star rating?
So I'm going to stick to my 3-star rating. I definitely have reservations. Could he overperform my expectations? Perhaps, but I'm leaning towards the downside here. I think 5-6 just isn't enough power for the RNG elements you're getting. I think the stones are good, but you're committing essentially turn 6 for those stones, and they have to be really good. The alternative is obviously ramping them out and stuff like that. But for me, I'm on the downside here at 3 stars.
Yeah, I think I'm going.
And even then,
I'm going 2. Yeah, I'm going 2, man. I think I'm going down. I think, guys, this is a extremely fun card. Dude, with Snap Packs around the corner too, there's just no way you grab this card, right? Look, it's Cannonball and who else with him? What's the other spotlight?
Pixie
and Pixie and Cannonball. There's just no shot. I think you don't pull for this card. I think he's very fun. And I think that you can go from via the Snap Packs, and that'll be great, or token cost, whatever way you want to do it. He has a lot of cool and interesting elements. There are 2 decks that I think he actually has a chance to be good, and if he's not good in those 2 decks, I think he's going to be very bad. But he is going to bring what we get every now and then. That's just a new kind of play style, different way to play, and extremely, honestly, just a good time. And so that alone is what I'm excited about and to talk about. Will he be competitive? No, I don't think he's going to be the meta card, but he will be a good time, and you could definitely get some wins with him. And so, if you enjoy Mr. Negative, if you enjoy some of these decks that do that, then hey, he might be your style of play, and I think a lot of people do fit that category. So Infinity Ultron 5-6, he has a lot of stones. We're about to go over them. Right away, though, you brought up a ramp. I think ramp might be I think ramp is actually the best home for him, most likely, because you have to, His biggest problem is the 5 cost. Like, it's just weird to get Agamotto at what he was stat-wise with what he could bring to the table. And then you've got this 5-6 here, and there's so much RNG elements. It's just, there's a lot of questionable. Before we jump into it too much, though, I guess, let's bring up the stones. Let's get the stones here ready to go. And here you guys go. They don't have the official logos yet in-game. We assume they're going to be the same stones as Thanos' but we'll break them down. So first things first, guys, they're all 3 cost, okay? Different power assortments between the stones here. Should we break them down one by one and let's give them individually, like, what, 1 through 5 stars? You want to give them, like, how we think the stones are going to be?
I wasn't expecting that. Okay, it's going to be, like, off the cuff for me, but we can do it. That's
fun. I have
like
no idea either. Man, I barely know where I am right now. Let's go. There's 6 stones, and we'll place them in what order we think they're going to be out of the 6, just off the cusp. So first one, we've got the Space Stone. It's a 3/4. All right, so obviously not a bad stat line, honestly. On reveal, move the lowest power enemy card here to the location of Infinity Ultrons, okay? Which is potentially, again, a 6 power card that you'll be putting up in that lane. Where do you see this one? We haven't read them all yet, but do you want to read them all, then you want to place them?
Let's read them all first to give at least the audio listeners a bit of a well-rounded kind of idea of what we're talking about. Then we'll dial in, I think.
Okay. Guys, and again, sorry if my voice is human waste.
Your voice sounds beautiful, actually. When you're in like the lights dim mode, and like this is a much more like vibrant, like, you know, like sensual phone call cozy. I feel like I've called some dirty hotline. You know what I mean? I think I really like this. I should, you know what? I know you're not going to delete what I just said, but maybe you should have.
What are you wearing? No, I'm keeping it. Reality Stone for Ultron. We have 3/1 on reveal. Add a drone here. Set its power to Infinity's Ultron. So kind of like a Taskmaster just built for Infinity Ultron. Time Stone 3/1 on reveal. Put a card here. Put a card from your hand here. So definitely interesting. What's that card that came out like a couple months ago? No. It's that one too, but this one's much more trash. It was just in the OTA, that Red Wing. It's kind of like that.
Oh yes, Red Wing. Yeah, way worse Isan. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Mind Stone, we've got a 3/2 ongoing. Your on reveal abilities here happen twice, so kind of like a Wong. Soul Stone is a 3/3 on reveal for each of your full locations. Give one of your cards +2 power. And then you've got the Power Stone 3/2 on reveal, double Infinity Ultron's power. So by reading all these, before we break them down, Alex, give me what's the best one of the pack here?
I would lean best one overall is Ultron Reality Stone, which adds a drone and sets its power to Infinity Ultrons. The reason why I say that, it doesn't have a crazy ceiling, but it has a very consistent floor. Okay. And I think that's one of the makings of a good card.
I like it. I'm going to go with the Time Stone. I think the Time Stone might be my favorite, especially if you play him in ramp. I think there's a lot of potential with the Time Stone to get huge value out of it and just cheating it out. And you already need a lot of miracles to happen to get this thing to work. And so I think, and here's the thing, you're getting 2, so some of these do combo together. I think we're just looking at them as individual value. Okay, so the number 2 would be what on your list?
I kind of like the Mind Stone that allows you to on reveal twice. However, the Time Stone that you just identified is probably the second in terms of overall strength, because the Mind Stone, I don't know. Because if you think about it, like, yes, a lot of these have on reveals, and so you can kind of use the Mind Stone as a combo piece, but taking them individually, I do think the Time Stone is pretty good as kind of like that Isan effect, dropping something from your hand. Actually, no, it's not even like the Isan effect. It is more like Red Wing, because Isan only pulls created cards. Yep. I should actually correct myself. It is more like Red Wing. So yeah, I would probably put that at number 2.
Time Stone, yeah, I think I'll join you with the set power, because then you're getting a 3/6, at worst, right? And then you're also getting potentially more than that. So I'll join you there too. So we swap 1 and 2, right? And then we could both agree 3 is going to be the Mind Stone.
Mind Stone?
Yeah, getting your on reveals twice, which it's cool. But in practice, I'm like, yeah, it should be fine. This is why I feel like you need ramp here a ton. And that's why if you could get this thing out early, it's like, because on paper you look at it and they make you want to think, okay, you do that with the Power Stone. Awesome, let's go. But if you only have 1 turn to do that, dude, that's such low odds to have that happen. But I will go with the Mind Stone. The Soul Stones, what is this? For each of your 4 locations. Okay, so you're getting, what, 6 potential power from this thing? From the Soul Stone?
It's not insane, but it's not the worst.
It's not the worst. Okay, so then we have 1, 2, and 3. Or What are you going with 4? Double? The double?
I would go with the Power Stone.
I guess,
the doubling
right?
of Ultron's
but
power.
it's 8 power for a 12. No, for 14 technically.
Yeah.
8 energy. 8 energy for 14 power.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
And then I from there I would probably go the Soul Stone, which for the full locations give the +2, which is now I think we're starting to scrape the bottom of the barrel. By the way, this does not seem like a good effect.
They're all getting way worse here. Yeah, the space still being a 3/4 at least is mildly interesting in stat department. But yeah,
true. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think Soul Stone. I actually think I might go Soul, then Power, then Space. I think is how listen. They're all not great at the bottom there, but the top 3 are good, and that's where you start to see a little bit of the problem. So you've got cards, you've got these stones that are good, you have stones that are bad, and then you have combos that are good, and you have more combos and much more that are bad. So you can't rely on the combos here. So that's the pickle with this guy, Infinity Ultron, is he's very RNG dependent, right? In a couple of ways. And so, I think ramp has the shot for him to actually be pretty damn good. Because you could cheat out big cards. Getting him out on 5 would be everything. So I don't think you could do the Electro, right? Because you don't want to mess with that because that just messes up the stone stuff, right? But Psylocke, Hope Summers, Luna Snow, Wave. We've got a lot of options now to make him work. I think that's the route the traditional ramp route might be the way to go.
I think Luna Snow is absolutely the best choice, and I'm glad you brought her up. I believe that my opening deck for Infinity Ultron will be a Luna Stone deck. First of all, I've been playing a lot of Luna Stone. Anyone that's been following my videos would know that I've been putting her in a lot of decks, 3/6 power with that ramp. It's actually a huge stat line. And we often forget that in Marvel Snap, you win games by putting power on the board, right? More often than not. And so with Luna Snow, I think the key thing with Infinity Ultron is Luna Snow on 3 allows you to play Infinity Ultron on 4. But it also allows you to play both stones on 5, opening up turn 6. Because if you do something like an Electro play, well, obviously with Electro, you're limited to 1. But let's say you wave. If you wave on 3, Infinity Ultron on 4, going into turn 5, you only have 5 energy, which means you can only commit 1 stone because they're 3 costed. And of course, you could play like a Quinjet or whatever like that, but let's assume you're not going that route. With Luna Snow, you have access to that additional energy consistently, and I think that it's going to be ultimately the best way to curve into Infinity Ultron, and it's also going to solve one of the key problems that Ultron has, where you still have the opportunity to have a high-impact turn 6 play, which I think is notable.
Yeah, and you mentioned Quinjet, I think Magic. There's a couple cards that you could just get that benefit from Infinity Ultron anyway. But yeah, I think Luna Snow and Psylocke are probably the best 2, because Psylocke, you could play Psylocke on 3 to get him out on 4, same song and dance. But then also you can, if you get him out and let's say you use Luna Snow, then you could play Psylocke and a Stone. I don't know. There's her at 2 kind of feel good to be able to give yourself more energy later to get more of the stone combos popping off. But also every card that you go in there, this is the problem with the ramp, right? Each card you go in there, then at that point it could be a card, let's say from the time stone that it pulls down. If you have an Infinite in there and you have a Psylocke, boy, that's going to feel bad if the time stone picks the Psylocke. So you want to limit those options. But I'm telling you, man, I think with what we just built there, a little bit of a Luna Snow ramp, there's so many big cards now that could feast off this. Obviously, you want to probably make a lot of them on reveal based. I think Doctor Doom just kind of fits good in here, right? Because all of a sudden you have the full locations card plus 2 power. That's going to work with Doom a lot easier. You've got the Mind Stone that's going to double the on reveal effect. That's a huge splash of a turn. So you've got a lot of those things that work for you, and I think even Odin could fit into this because you've got some of these cards that want to keep going. That's where I see probably the best shot for him outside of one more deck. But I'm glad that we're kind of linked the same here. Do you have anything else to add to ramp before we go to the next energy?
I was going to say that Odin was a good call and a natural follow-up to the Luna Snow thing. In my original design and pen and paper, I don't know if it's going to make it because we still have a few days, but I actually have Hulkling, which I think is silly, but Hulkling might... It's a little bit of cope, but it is 12 power, and I want to lean into the random nature of things a little bit, and I thought that could be fun.
Okay.
It's just one of my early designs I have.
Like it.
But you are right to identify that with the Time Stone potentially pulling something random. If you're going to make a ramp deck or a wave deck or whatever it happens to be, you're going to want to have big targets. one of the things that this deck does not have the problem of in comparison to the traditional Thanos is Thanos dilutes the deck significantly. Infinity Ultron decks will not be diluted. He'll be adding these directly to the hand. So you are able to draw a little more reliably based on what your deck is. However, one of the advantages of Thanos is that draw engine that occurs to let you kind of like get through the deck. So Thanos has like zoo capabilities that I don't think Ultron does.
So this is where I was going with this, okay? So then I thought, okay, so if we did Electro, or even if you don't, looking at draw engines, all right? So forget Electro, but if you wanted to, but you've got Agamotto, first of all, into this Blink deck. I was thinking Blink was an interesting choice because Blink, you have the ability to, cheat out Infinity Ultron, which is a huge win at that point. But also, you get a little things cooking there. I think the chance of Agamotto being able to use the stones to his advantage with the images of Akan or whatever. I mean, you have different ways to work him into it. Then, though, you do dilute the deck a little bit, so I guess you do the direct opposite of what you want to do. There's just some interesting fives that are on reveal that could also work in this whole kind of build that they've got going on. We're doing a lot to try to make him work, and I think that's going to be ultimately a tough spot for him. But let me highlight this, man. We just talked about Luna. We talked about potentially Hope Summers. But when you look at the cards here, okay, I think Silver Surfer. I know, dude, you're the Surfer guy. You're the Surfer guy. These are all 3 cost, okay? You could even plug in Sarah in there to make them even cheaper. But these are going to almost all work with Surfer, like most of them. The Soul Stone, the +2 power on full locations. The on reveal abilities happen twice. They're 3, that's obviously insane cook. And they're all decent power at that too. So you got the 3/4 in there. I don't know, man. I think that this has a shot in Surfer decks. And hell, could you even go Magic Surfer? Could you go? There's just a couple builds you could do to make it to make it actually work. And he's not complete garbage.
You know what? I actually had not thought about Surfer because I think that like the turn 4 and 5 is so critical that committing Infinity Ultron to it on turn 5, you have to get Surfer in there on turn 6. And so that means you're only playing one of these cards unless somehow they're discounted. But if they're discounted to 2, but that wouldn't have affected the Silver Surfer. So you'd need 7 energy. And that's maybe where the Hope Summers comes in. Because if you have Hope Summers and you play your Infinity Ultron on top of Hope Summers, that will give you 7 energy going into turn 6, would allow you to play 2 of these discounted plus Silver Surfer itself. That would be a nice pop-off, especially if you get something like the Mind Stone. Right?
Luna, though, Magic, same 2. Those are both 3s. Luna and Magic. Wave is 2, but we won't talk about her. But like, there's a lot of 3s that you could maybe squeeze in there that are also getting the job done for Ultron to get his job done. And if you just get... And then it limits the RNG, because if you just get the Mind Stone, that and Surfer is probably going to win, okay? Because you're going to double tap that. Put a card here from your hand here. That's another one that I think has a high probability to win, because you could play that first, then that's going to drag a 3, then you play Surfer. Okay, so you've got that. You've got double Infinity Ultron's power. That's just going to be pure good. You're going to get the 12 power spike, and then you can play Surfer. I don't know. I just feel like a lot of these just cook with it.
It's entirely possible. Like it is. And I'm thinking about it now because you kind of caught me on the spot. I wasn't expecting a Surfer conversation here, which is funny because I should always be ready.
I know. I was going to say, I thought that was going to be what you lit in with. Yeah.
No, I'm definitely leaning into the Luna Snow ramp personally. But now that you mention it, there are ways to make it. But the problem is now you're competing with, okay, so Sarah isn't even making modern Surfer decks right now, if you think about it, right? Which is insane to think about. Like Sarah not making the list. So if you're not going to be playing Sarah, maybe there is room for Infinity Ultron. But where does the discount come in? Like where does the actual, you know what? Leave it to me to cook a little bit. Like you could even, just thinking because you can't use because you're still running. You're going to run Gwenpool. You're going to run Galactus, right? Galacta. Sorry, you got me thinking.
I feel like just having Luna and or Magic and or Hope Summers might be enough. And back in the day, you used to do the 1 cost. I mean, you could do the Quinjet. I think Quinjet obviously is a bit too it's too much cope at that point because then you're just hoping you get Ultron, so you need to go with more the Magic or Luna route is how I would see it. I guess maybe you could build I don't know, some other crazy hybrid. But I don't know. When I was thinking about Luna for ramp, and then I was thinking about some of the other cards, I was like, man, I think Surfer actually just fits here like naturally.
No, it definitely can. I wonder if that version of Surfer would not run something like a Brood. Because like something has to give way, right? Like you have to give way on something for these stones. I'm not sure. Leave it with me. I'm gonna try Cook
Yeah.
on Tuesday.
Okay.
Leave it
Yeah.
with me. But I don't know. It might be Cope, but sometimes the decks that start as Cope end up being the most inventive because you're pushing something that no one else was going to try to push, and then you end up finding something that works way better than you expected. So I like this conversation a lot. I do. I'm like just really curious. I'm like, how could you get like, what does turn 6 look like consistency? You're right, because Magic is interesting, because Magic's a 3 cost. But then if you think about it, if you're playing Luna Snow Magic, and those are your kind of lines on turn 3, 4, now you're missing out on the Galacta, you're missing out on the Gwenpool, right?
Yeah, but I don't know
And
if you
you're
need those. I don't know if you need, like, think about Galacta's adding what? Like, you're playing her as a 4/5, then you're getting some extra power for the couple turns that you play her there. Totally get it. But if you think about the Hazmat deck that uses Magic, right? Because Surfer and Magic don't go together anymore outside of that one. The old like Luke Cage Hazmat, bomb that used to do, right? That used to have such an explosive finish that you didn't really care what they did. So I'm just curious, like, will it be worth that payoff? Will there be a big enough explosive finish? And I think with clearly the Mind Stone there is, and maybe even just the Power Stone as well. You're adding 2/3s to your hand. So it's just like, man, it's just kind of keeps it flowing.
I think the major challenge here is that when you think about like how Surfer ends up winning games on turn 6, it's often because you have tech and you have power at the same time. So you have the Surfer that adds the power, and you usually have a tech piece. That traditionally was something like a Killmonger, which was enough to activate the Nova, wipe out their 1-drops, and add power to the board. Then you start doing things like in the current meta where you have things like Rogue, which could flip an ongoing board state. So if you're looking at these cards, which one of them actually provides that utility, that tech utility? If you can only play 2, if you're going to play Silver Surfer in one of these on a game that goes sideways on turn 6, let's assume the baseline of like, oh, I played Infinity Ultron on 5, I don't have the Quinjet yet, it's 1 plus Surfer. Obviously, the Mind Stone's huge. You would lead with something like turn 3 Brood, turn 4 Absman, turn 5, you would go Infinity Ultron. And then even there, right, you could do something like the Soul Stone because you're filling locations really effectively into the Silver Surfer. So maybe it's a little versatile, more versatile than I expected.
And even if you only have the Reality Stone or the Power Stone, both those are big plays because think about it. You play the Power Stone, okay, doubles Ultron's power. It's a 3 cost that's on the board. Then you play Surfer. Okay, so you go bam, you get like a big kind of burst on one lane and some nice burst on another. Reality Stone, you setting that stone to a 3/6, bam, 3/6 Surfer, got a 3/8. Not bad. I mean, it's just, I feel like there's at least some outs. And by the way, this is me trying to find Ultron's best deck, not saying it's going to be like meta. I just think like this might be his best opportunity if it's not ramp. And this could be better than ramp. I don't know, because it kind of is ramp for him, right? But naturally, we always talk about it here in the Snapchat, just like going with the game plan of what the card wants to do already. And I feel like Surfer is a lot of that.
It's close. It definitely is close. And I guess we're going to have to cook on Tuesday a little bit and see what we can come up with.
For sure. But to sum it up, I would also say don't get the card. I mean, I think I think like if we both were to, really knuckle down and say what our thoughts are, with snap packs just around the corner, there's not a lot of good reason why to get it.
No, not at all. And I think that it's going to be a card that, like on YouTube, like thumbnails will write themselves, titles will be sensational. Like I think that it's the kind of card that is easy to get excited about, but I think a measured response from a resource perspective is going to be best, especially going into the snap packs that we know are confirmed for the end of the month.
Absolutely. Well, we're going to take this now. We're going to head into our next subject. And man, we got an OTA balance patch this week. And let me tell you, it was game changing, wasn't it, Alex?
If game changing is mid as hell, then yeah, I guess. I guess we have different definitions of game changing, sir.
Well, Patriot got no. Listen, guys, we have had this conversation here multiple times on the Snapchat that we would like to see them kind of take these chances, if you will, in OTAs on when we typically talk about is on cards that maybe need some love that haven't gone it and try to do something spicy like we saw with Adam Warlock. Let me read out the changes and then we'll have the conversation. So this week in the OTA, Red Wing went up to a 3/5. Patriot, who I actually think this is the first change it's ever gone on a card, is going to a 3/2. Bishop is going to a 3-2. Devil Dinosaur is going from a 5-3 to a 5-4. Ghost Rider, the first Ghost Rider, is going from 2-5 to 2-6. And then MODOK is going down from a 5-8 to a 5-7. And Rocket and Groot are going down from 3-3 to 3-2. So what do all these have in common, Alex?
One power. One power up, one power down.
One power up, one power down, which back in the day used to have a big impact, actually. You know, we looked at the stature. We always bring up the stature Black Bolt deck. I think that was always like the best one to kind of like highlight that card that went meta to completely out of it because of one power change. Dude, it's just not cutting it. It's the one power these days is not cutting it, but also I just feel like there's so many cool potential things that they can do with these cards, and or make Devil Dinosaur a 5-5. Give him 2 power. See what happens there. He's not getting any play, so 1 extra power is not going to do it. A Patriot getting a 3-2, if anything, it's not a nerf, but like, I mean, bro, if you were playing a Doom 2099 Ravonna Mystique Dr. Doom deck, it's actually a nerf on the card, right? Because it's going out of Ravonna range. A 3-2 is not going to make Patriot all of a sudden viable. More so than he already was. It feels like they need to take, like, what is a 3-3 Patriot? How much of a risk is that? It doesn't feel like a huge risk. And if it was, then just in a week or so, it's not going to dominate. And if it does, then Enchantress will do her thing and whatever. You have those cards that come into play. It just feels like OTAs went from like really neat, impactful changes to like, we're hoping that happens.
Oh, if Patriot came out today in a Spotlight Cash, he'd be a 3-5. Like, let's be honest,
probably,
right? He'd be a 3-4, 3-5, right? So him going to a 3-2 was like so inconsequential that it was almost sad. And you're right, it breaks the Ravonna synergy, which is basically a nerf, but it wasn't really being played with Ravonna anyways. No, I agree. If you're going to be making OTA changes, like to suggest that, like, first of all, one power changes here and there, like we've seen cards become irrelevant for less, right? Like, it's not insignificant. But at the same time, if you're like, hey, Patriots seeing no play, let's give it 1 power. Like, come on. Like, move it to 3-3, right? Devil Dinosaur is a great example of this. If you're going to give Dinosaur 5-4, do it in tandem with Ronin. Make Ronin a 5-6. Because Ronin now is even dumber to play. Because Devil Dinosaur, at least you have your own agency in generating its power. Ronin, you have to rely on your opponent for its power to some degree. And obviously you have disruption mechanisms. But they're two peas in a pod. So I don't know why, if you're going to be buffing Devil Dinosaur, like Ronin doesn't see play right now. Make Ronin a 5-6, Devil Dinosaur a 5-4, and even that feels like more of an injection because you're kind of building that whole hand size, hand disruption archetype. But yeah, Devil Dinosaur very easily could have been a 5-5. He's been irrelevant for the longest time, and is it because Kahori's not selling, man? I don't know. Yeah,
it just like I'm all for power changes. I think they're fine, but when it's one power, it's just not going to be enough to really shake things up. I think cost changes are obviously huge, which you got to be careful with those, but we're all down for it, right? But then also, like the and or text, and this is a crazy example, I just think it's a fun thing to mess with, right? You had it with Adam Warlock. Devil Dinosaur ongoing +2 power for each card in your hand, or if your hand is empty, he gets +10 power. I don't know, like something like, wow, that really changes the way you can play Devil Dinosaur. You can either go for a potential 12 power Devil Dinosaur with maxed out hand size, or you can empty out your hand completely and then he'll spike up to 14 power. Like, it feels like there's a lot of these that they can mess with and try to bring, and I'm not asking them to do this with all, that's an unrealistic ask. I just feel like in OTAs, we used to get really excited about the changes, and it would be more fun to get something spicy like that, even if it was on one card compared to 3 cards getting +1 power that aren't going to change the state of their play.
Here's a perfect example. You want proof in the pudding, as they like to say? Here it is, Cozy. Let's do a little game. And the audience, you get to play too, down in the comment section. Ready? You got 5 seconds. Name another change from the prior OTA that's not the Sauron change. Get wrecked. Right? Exactly.
GG.
The Sauron change, which was by far the most significant of the changes, the one that's by far the most interesting, the cost reduction, the archetype defining change, is the one that you remember because it's the one that created excitement in the game. It's the one that gave an archetype a chance to breathe again. And so if they just moved Sauron to a 3-4, it would not have had the same impact.
Yeah, I was going to say, here's another game. Is Ghost Rider getting played right now? Is Pixie getting played? I think those two are in there. Like, no, the answer is no, they're not. So I agree. It's the one that is lasting. It's the one that actually made the difference. Is it GG easy busted? Like, no, it's still like, it's good, but you know, I feel like they can do that with so many cards that just have not seen the light of day. And it's funny because like a lot of the paragraphs are like, you know, this card has been out of the limelight, so we want to bring it back into it. I'm like, yeah, same as like 500 other ones. Like, there's so many cards kind of in that section. So the power up and down is fine. Just would like for them to either be more daring with the plus power or add some new flavor change.
They need to definitely target the player experience from a standpoint of like, oh, Devil Dinosaur decks, Ronin decks, like the style of play. We have these linchpin cards, like even something like, okay, High Evo. The only place High Evo is being played, ironically, is in an Ajax deck, where you include High Evo just for Abomination being discounted. If you want High Evo to be relevant, don't add power to High Evo. Buff up Cyclops. Right? Make him pew pew based on how much power you've floated, or make him a little more interesting. Give him an additional power as this key build around card that can carry that archetype. I don't think that like perfect balance should always be the goal, because some of the best archetypes thrive on slightly like perfect imbalance, so to speak. Like you have cards that like Ajax overperform and enable an entire archetype. Yes, Ajax is probably overpowered in an individual basis, but that whole archetype doesn't exist without him. And so I think like with a Ronin or a Devil Dinosaur, you can take a chance on making those cards even a little more impactful because they're the build arounds. Make like Thanos is a great example of this. Thanos now starts in your hand. It starts in your hand, Thanos does. And he can be brought down to a 5, which is another thing with Ultron, like Infinity Ultron. It's like he's competing with literally actual Thanos, who's often 5 power himself. So it's like, take the chances, take the risk. And one of the reasons why I had so much fun last week playing Kohori lists was because I was playing cards like Devil Dinosaur, cards I don't ever play. And the idea of just being able to play things I haven't been playing in a while, it actually made me excited to turn my stream on, turn on Snap, get my dailies done. You know what I mean? And I think that they can kind of infuse more power into some of these cards to make it more exciting.
Well, and the best part about this too is it's OTA, so that it's legit fixable. They can just get to it the exact next one, right? Like the Balance team is smart enough over there where they're not going to make a change that's like so insane that like, you know, it's meta dominant for 3 weeks and everything's over. No, instead it's like, oh, and by the way, I thought this was funny. Have you noticed now, by the way, the Marvel Rivals season is beginning to be like not anywhere near the level of like the Loki season, but like every single card in that season now has seen tamed down in some way. Dune 2099, Rocket and Groot, Galacta, Luna Snow. Actually, Luna Snow got buffed, right? But
yeah, she got buffed.
It's funny that these cards ended up coming out, you know, really strong in the season that kind of, you know, breezed by a bit. But yeah, man, really the whole point of this conversation is I just want OTAs to be great again, right? I want there to be that excitement when the OTA videos launch. So much so, like, you know, running 2 channels, like, and I was, you know, that was at the beginning of me getting sick. But I saw the changes and I'm like, I'm not even gonna make a video. Like, if I was gonna make a video, it was gonna be on exactly what we just talked about. Like, let's try to spice it up a little bit. And this is coming from a Patriot fan too, so I was all for it. But I'm like, this isn't gonna do anything.
I can't wait for when they nerf Arrow again for no reason.
Oh,
just to force you to make a video.
It's coming.
Arrow, a 5/3, same effect.
Well, speaking of Arrow, this is a terrible transition. We're just going to get right to it. We're going to talk a little bit about, you know, I think it's funny when you look at things by comparison, you can tell exactly what you have. And I think that is one of the things that makes Snap stand out and look so great is if you look at the TCG scene or just card game scene right now, I do think Snap at its core gameplay is by far the most fun digital card game that's out there. Not even question. Not, you know, almost every layer of it. What we've had Pokemon Pocket come out this year. I think they just came out with rank mode, trading, I think. But you know, we're kind of seeing where that's gone a bit. I think the game's doing fine. It's doing just fine. I still think Snap is leaps and bounds ahead of it. No question about it. And what you've got Hearthstone with, you know, how's Hearthstone doing, Alex?
So I actually do play Hearthstone from time.
Do you
again.
really?
Like,
when's the last time you launched that up?
Probably 3 weeks ago. Play some
God.
Battlegrounds. I do like Battlegrounds, but here's the problem. It's too slow, man. I can't play. I want to get excited about it and I want to play it, but like the matches go too long. The timers are way too long. I'm sitting there waiting for my opponent. I don't like the coin, right? The fact that there's a first turn advantage, which is very obvious in a game like that. Snap has solved so many issues that Hearthstone continues to just play off of, right? When I'm in Battlegrounds, I set up my turn rather quickly. I have to wait for like 3 minutes sometimes. It feels like 3 minutes, like 190 seconds for my opponents to finish their turn. It is heartbreaking. I even streamed some Hearthstone, which honestly, like I still like as a game, but like I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, for 3 minutes, there's nothing happening, which is cool. I get to chat with the audience, stuff like that. But what I'm trying to say is that every time I play another game that's not Snap, I see the things that Snap has improved in the entire scene. And I appreciate that a lot about the game. In fact, I would actually dare to say, if there's anybody who's on the Hearthstone dev team listening to this right now, seriously, cut the turn timer in half, man. Make that rope come faster. Tighten up the turns. Because I think that one of the things that made Snap so successful was that it ushered in this new era of card games where you don't have, like, you're not against a Magic player who's just scrying for 45 minutes and has a turn that's just like wombo comboing you, and he draws through his entire damn deck for 25 minutes while you sit there and wait. Like, it's not. Snap created an opportunity for other game developers to, like, oh wait, the snappy battle system and like solving a lot of these problems that existed for so long, it worked. Look at the audience that it built. I just wish that a game like Hearthstone incorporated more of that and actually evolved.
So I think why Snap works so well is how quick it is for what you just said, but also what that opens up an opportunity. So for me, I got asked the other day, do you play Rivals or Snap more? And it's like, I just play them differently. So like Snap is now the game that I literally play when I'm, out and about, and like it's truly like the way to be able to play it on mobile, quick game, fire it up, get it going. Like Rivals could never, right? Hearthstone can never. I think that's what makes Snap so special. And we saw that at the launch, and even now that there's so many casual fans. Like I can't even tell you, when I go anywhere or a waiter at a restaurant, they're like, hey man, I play Snap. I've seen one of your videos, whatever. And it's like, wow, this game has so much reach because of how much it appeals to a casual, quick audience. And I think that's what Snap does best. Because if I'm going to sit down and play a long form thing now, and especially lately, man, it's hooked me. Commander for me is like, man, if I want to play a social game that's a long one, it's definitely going to be Commander. There's no question about it. There's something about, talking about this with you and Dexter the other day, there's something about physical cards too. It's just, it's just fun. There's just you know what it is? It's the social aspect of it that I just think is unmatched. And heck, I was playing Commander with 4 people the other day, 3 people, other people. And we were playing online where it like reads the card, you can scans the card, you can see exactly what it does. And there's just something so special about just just what it brings. When we were playing a Star Wars game we've never played before in person, like there was just some different aspects to it. So if I'm going to do that, I'm probably going to do, more of the physical product than if I'm going to do digital, it's going to be Snap. And I think those are the two titans right now. One Piece is also doing pretty good, but I think I'd go with Magic and Snap.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's funny because like we were talking about playing Commander together and stuff like that. And hopefully I get in on those calls with you guys and get to rip some games there. But you actually bring me back. So yeah, you're referring to when we were in PAX Boston, we played Star Wars together. And it's funny because like if I don't know if you remember, but the table was me, you, and sitting right beside me was community manager of Newverse and Marvel Snap, Richard, and we were all playing together, and it was a great social experience. And it was funny because even the person that was explaining the game to us was like, oh, you do this because it's turn 1 and he has the advantage. I'm like, oh, if only there was a game that solved the turn first advantage of card games. If only there was a game that had faster turns and stuff like that. And so it goes to show you how much Snap has actually innovated. And it's funny that you mentioned how it fits perfectly into a lot of people's lives, because a lot of my games that I play right now, because I don't even rush to Infinite anymore. Like, I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy the game. I'm play it at my pace, because if I burn myself out, I burn myself out from my content and everything. I just want to enjoy Snap again. And as a result, my wife and I are watching Daredevil. Baby wakes up, cries for mommy. So my wife leaves. I open up Snap. I wait for her to come back to continue watching some Daredevil. And so that's perfect. I get 2-3 games in there, get my dailies done. My wife comes back, we continue watching. That's perfect usage of Marvel Snap. And yeah, like it's funny that you mentioned like all these other games like One Piece and stuff like that. Like I tried Altered TCG. I actually really liked the game. It was a fantastically well-designed game. It's actually one of my favorite tabletop experiences I've had in a long time. But the challenge with it, I went to my local stores and it was me and like one other person that were playing. And so it was a great game with no install base, with no audience there. And so our locals just didn't exist. And then eventually the store nearby me stopped offering it. And the closest I could go is I had to drive about 45 minutes out to another location. And even then it was like 3 people there. And that's if everyone showed up. So there's multiple problems with these types of games. And I think Snap gets a lot of it right. It has the install base. It has the snappy, fun kind of play style, the beautiful art, which is, dude, like talk about Star Wars. Like I love the game, but man, when you look at the card art, it doesn't stand up to the Lorcanas or to the Marvel Snaps. Like what Snap has done with card art and recognizing artists and stuff like that has been remarkable. And I don't know, it does a lot right.
For sure. And that's why we're seeing cards like Infinity Ultron come out. It's like the fun, casual, Second Dinner, I think they were very obvious when the game came out. They're like, we're not doing a competitive scene. And as viewers, we were like, nah, it's happening. Maybe as players, I think it's going to happen. And like, it was in our face, but we almost like just the game was naturally very built for it. We felt like, because I think they knew the gold and the gem that they had with, the casual fun play that's in it and the pop up and play anywhere. And that's why I think it's going to have the longevity for a very long time. The only way a new card game, physical or digital, takes over is if it offers something brand new that is awesome. And that's what Snap did last, right? I think, Pokemon TCG was already successful. Bring that format over. It's going to do great. I think the game's doing fine. Dude, talk about, man, there are things that I know that I'll be addicted to if I play it. Heck, freaking, I dipped my toe into Magic. Now I'm over here buying Fallout Commander decks and not even Commander decks, Fallout packs that are like way too much because I want to just rip them. But I know I'll be addicted to things. Like I'm glad I avoided the Pokemon Pocket wave because I know they would have me. They would. I mean, I love Pokemon, so how would they not?
Yeah, I know you absolutely love Pokemon. And I remember. Here's a funny thing. Want to go behind the scenes baseball here, Cozy? This is a fun thing. So Pokemon Snap's coming out, right? A lot of people are going crazy about Pokemon Snap. I just called it whatever. You know what I meant, right? It's going crazy. Everyone's going nuts for it. I made a bunch of videos on it, and they were successful videos largely.
Yeah, they did good.
Yeah, and I said, you know what? I don't like this game as much as I like Snap. It's that simple. I think Snap's a better game, and I'll say that. I don't care. I don't care if people disagree. I like Snap better. I think Snap's a better game than Pokemon Pocket. And so I said, yeah, I did my videos. I gave it my shot. I'm bowing out. I'm out. I think Snap's a better game, and I'm going to commit to it, right? And I remember having a conversation with you, Cozy. And you know what you told me? I remember. Can I say this out loud? I'm going to anyways. He said, Marvel Rivals is coming out in a month or two, and I think that's going to be a banger.
Dude, it was like a year. I think was it like March of 2024 is when I first found out about Rivals. Yeah, man. And then we played the alpha in what, May or June?
Yeah, we played the alpha together. That was so much fun.
I just knew it, bro. I knew it for the trailer looked fun, and then when we played the first game playing it with us 5 like together at the time, I was like, this is gonna be a smash hit. It was way too much fun. Like brought together the whole thing. But anyway, guys, thanks for getting through with us on what was a sick episode on my part, but glad just to have calm, cool conversation. We're gonna keep that conversation up over on Alex's side of the Snapchat, talking about Kahori, but also the Snap Packs. A lot of fun conversation to have there. So be sure to click and go check out his side of the Snapchat. You guys have a good one. Have a great one. Till the next one. Happy snapping.